Hello, everybody, and we are going to make a basic login and register with Firebase in Xcode and Swift 4 today. So let's create a new project, single view app, and we'll just call this login Firebase. And next, we'll save it in this folder here. And first thing, here I'm just changing that real quick. So let's just add some labels and text fields here. Get a label and we'll say email. I'm going to make this font a little bigger. Let's say 30. Hit done. And I'm just gonna copy and paste this label and change this one to password and move that to side just to get some spacing. And then we are going to get a text field and try to center it with the text like that. See that line pop up? And we'll do the same thing, copy and paste. And now we want two buttons. One button will go here and copy and paste the button again and there. So this button we can say sign in, and this button we can say register. And now I'm just going to put two labels down here. Copy and actually, let's resize this to what we want. We're going to want the font to be 20 and just spread it across the whole thing. I do not know what I just clicked. An internal error. That's weird. I've never gotten that before. Let's just keep going and see what happens. So here, I'm just going to say sign in label. So that will happen. Register label. So what these two labels are for is just we're going to display successful sign in, error signing in, and then whatever happens with the register, successful register, just to let the user know. So now let's actually just run our app here. And we should have our stuff. So perfect. I'm just going to take the text here and center. Same there. And let's open up our side editor here. And we just want to control drag. And we are going to say email TF for text field. And password TF. Ooh. Okay, we'll just leave it as lowercase, that's okay. And then we're also gonna get the sign in label. We'll say sign in label. And same for the register label. So we might as well add in our button actions here just to set everything in. We're just going to call this sign in action and do the same for register, control drag, register action. So now we have our storyboard set up and the base of our code. So let's do this now. So now we are actually going to close out of Xcode. Make sure it's saved, and we're going to hit the X. Stop tasks. So now we're going to head over to Google Firebase. So just go to firebase.google.com, sign in with your Gmail account, and it'll bring you to this screen, and you can say get started. Brings you to your Firebase console, and we're going to add a project. I'm going to call this login Firebase. I don't need to share anything. Agree, and just create project. We don't care about any of Google's data collection, just since this is a simple tutorial. So it's going to go through all of this and it says your new project is ready. Awesome. So first thing we're going to do is go into develop, and we'll go to authentication since we want to set up a sign-in method, and that's the point of this app right now. So set up sign-in method, and we're just going to click on email and password and hit enable and save. So all we're going to be doing today is just email and password. I can make another video for signing in with Google, Facebook, and Twitter. If you guys want, just let me know in the comments. So now we're going to go, after you have that enabled, go back to project overview, and here you're going to say, you're going to see get started by adding Firebase to your app, and it shows an iOS, a little Android symbol, and for web. So we want iOS, and now it's going to say the iOS bundle ID. So we actually do want to open up that project again. Sorry about that. Go to the top here, the top layer of your project, and you're going to see here under identity, it has your bundle identifier. So you're just going to copy that, go back to Google, paste that in. We don't need a nickname or an App Store ID, and the App Store ID you would want to put if your app is on the App Store. So we're going to register it, and it's just going to put that in. So now you're going to see this config file, and it's going to say download Google service info.plist, and it shows drag it into your application. So we're going to download it. Wait for it to download. There it is. I'm just going to get both of these and just drag. Oop, don't want that. Go back. Let's do it this way. And just drag it right under our info.plist and create folder references, add to targets, login Firebase, and then finish. So now we can make that bigger again. Let's make this full screen and go back here to continue SDK setup. So now you need to make sure you install CocoaPods. So if you do not have CocoaPods installed, go to here and it'll show you how to install CocoaPods. All you have to do is go to your terminal and put in this command, and that's it. So now, once you have CocoaPods installed, to make sure you have CocoaPods installed, if you go into your terminal here, and if you just do command space and search for terminal, that'll open it up. And if you just do pod -- version and anything pops up, then you know that CocoaPods was installed. So you can see here, it tells us we want to do pod init. So we're going to say pod init, but we don't want to do it here. We want to make sure we change our directory to where our project is saved. So mine is, I'm going to change my directory to my desktop. And then if you hit ls, it shows you all the folders that are in the current directory, and it says desktop here. So I'm going to do change directory, xcode, and then if you hit tab, it'll pop up the rest of, it'll autofill whatever's there. So here you can see xcode, and it has to do the slashes like this when there's a space, and hit enter. So now I'm in this folder. So now I'm going to want to hit ls again, and I see I have these two folders, and I want the login Firebase, and now I want to hit pod init. And now you can see nothing happens, but that means we successfully made our pod file. And you can see here we got the error since there was no Xcode project. So now you're going to want to do open pod file, and it'll open this up, and it says here pods for login Firebase. So you're going to want to say pod just go under here, it doesn't matter where you put it, and say pod, can't think, apostrophe, Firebase /core. And we also want pod Firebase /auth, which is how we're going to do our authentication. And if you just hit File, Save, or Command S, you can save it. You can X out of that now. And now you're going to do pod install on your terminal. And you can see analyzing dependencies, and it will get everything, all the pod files that you just said for it to install. So the ones that we just wrote down. All right, guys, we're back. It finally finished. So once it's done, it'll go through all this, and you'll see automatically assigning platform, all that stuff, and then give you back access to your terminal. So then if you go to your folder, if you close out of Xcode, the project you were in, and go to your folder, you're going to see now, instead of just having these two files, you have this white workspace, a pod file, the podfile.lock, and our pods. If we go in the pods, you can see all different Firebase stuff. You see we have Firebase, the analytics, the auth, the core. So basically, that's where everything got installed to when we did the line in the terminal. So now, if you're familiar with CocoaPods, you'll know this, but if not, whenever you install CocoaPod, any type of pods into a Xcode project, you're going to start using the Xcode workspace instead of the project. So the white one is where you're going to do all your work from now on. So we're going to open this up, and you can see here, we now also have this pods file there. And you can see some folders were added, but we still have what we did before. Everything's still here. So now we want to go back to Firebase on the website. We're going to hit next, and you can see here it wants us to add stuff to our app delegate. So it needs us to import Firebase and do Firebase app.configure. So I'm just going to copy this here by clicking on it. We're going to go to our appdelegate.swift. At the top, we're going to type import Firebase. And right before this return true, and this first function did finish launching with options, we're just going to command and copy the Firebase app.configure and save. And now we can hit next, and it wants us to run our app to verify. So we're going to run it. We should launch with no issues. And now you can see there's a lot more tasks because of us adding the pods. Normally it's only going to say like 20 to 30 things. So now our app loads. And you can see nothing new has happened. But if we go here to our installation on Firebase website, and you just give it a second, this will be good. So I will come back. Never mind. Said we were done. I will not be back. Okay, so now we can continue to our console. And now we can start coding to get users. So we're not going to work with Firebase database. We're just doing the authorization today. So in our viewcontroller.swift, we're going to say import Firebase auth. So now in our register action, we're going to first make sure that our email text field.text does not equal nil, and our password text, actually we're going to say or dot text does not equal nil. So end, we do want end. Sorry I wrote or. I was doing some Python, and that's how I do stuff in Python. So if the email text field.text does not equal nil and password text field.text does not equal nil, that just means that the user has typed in anything into the text fields for email and password. So that means they didn't leave them blank. So now we can do auth with a capital A dot auth dot create user. And you see here we have with email, password, and a completion handler. So with email, we're going to say email text field dot text, and we need to unwrap it. And we know there is a value since we checked to make sure that it wasn't nil, so that's okay to unwrap. So now password text field dot text, same thing, unwrap. And if you just go to here and tab over, hit enter, you get the result, which we can just call result, and the error we can just call error. And now we can say if error does not equal nil, so basically if error exists, if there is an error, we're going to print to the console error.debug description, so it can tell us why we got the error, and we're going to set our register label.text equal to error registering. And since we are in a closure here, right here is a closure, we need to say self.registerLabel.text. So another thing I want to make sure, we're going to just set in to the labels just to empty string, so it does not say anything. And we might as well, since we don't want the sign-in label to say anything, we'll set that equal to empty. Now else, so basically if there is no error, we're going to print successful login, successful register, and we're going to say self.registerLabel.text equal you registered in all caps. And again, make sure our sign-in label.text has nothing in it. And now we can run in our app, and I will leave this open so we can see the console. You can see Firebase starts to have all this stuff in there right away. So our email, it doesn't send anything to an email, so you can use any type of email as long as you have something at a website name.com. So now we can just do a password. We'll say password and hit register. And now it says you registered. So let's make sure in Firebase that we have a user registered. And we don't see anything, but let's reload. And you can see here is the user that we just registered. So that is all you have to do to register a user. And now we have an account. So now we want to be able to sign in a user. And to do that, you do the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this first line here. We want to make sure that our text fields are nil. So now we're going to do the same thing, auth.auth, but instead of create user, we're going to say sign in with email and password, and do the same thing we did before. Email.text, unwrap it, password text field.text, unwrap it, hit enter, call this result and error. Now our code, we're going to say the same thing. If error does not equal nil, we're going to print the error.debug description, and we're going to say self.signin label now dot text is equal to error signing in, and then self dot. Here, I'm actually just at the top, I'm going to say register label dot text equals empty string. And now we're not in a closure up here, so we don't need self. So if there is no error, we're going to say print signed in success. Self dot sign in label dot text. We don't really have to be printing it to the console since we are displaying it, but just to have both, because why not? And say signed in. Now if we save that and we run again and we use this email, since we know this account exists, we can say joe@gmail.com, and we know the password is password. So we can say sign in. And now you can see we were able to sign in. So now say we wanted to register this same person, it will give us an error registering. And if you go down here, since we did the debug, here's that debug description that we did before. The email address is already in use by another account, which Firebase automatically does for you, which is pretty cool. And we can see if we tried to use a different password, we'll have an error signing in, and that will bring us here to wrong password. So that is about it. If you want your text field to not be able to just show the password, you want the dots, we can go here to the attributes inspector, and the content type you can set to password. So now when we run, instead of showing us what we're typing in, it'll only show us the letter for a quick second. So if we type in, oh, I don't want that, sorry, unspecified. I want secure text entry, sorry. So now you should have the dots. You type in password and you can see the dots show up. joe@gmail.com, hit signed in, awesome. Say we want a different email, we can say joe1, hit register, you registered. We can just keep registering a bunch of accounts, registered all of them. Let's refresh, and you can see all of the ones that we made. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, a comment. If you have any questions, let me know. I will put this code up on GitHub so you can download it. You will just need to put in your own plist from Google. You cannot use the same one as me. I will probably not even include it in, because this does have access to this Firebase project that I made. So please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day.